Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Got some nods, got some thumbs up. Perfect. So good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Penny Jones, General Manager of Morrisville Water and Light. With me tonight, we have Carl Fortune, the Chair of the Board of Trustees. And I also have Alex McLean, partner at Leonine Public Affairs, who has been helping us with communication and outreach around the Green River Reservoir.
Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. We're here tonight to discuss the future of the Green River Reservoir hydro facility and the reservoir itself. As chair of the board of the village trustees, I want to be clear that we all value the Green River Reservoir and want to see a future in which it is preserved. I personally love to swim long distance, kayak. It's a great place. So it's beautiful. And I also want to be clear that the village trustees have a fiduciary responsibility to the ratepayers of Morrisville Water and Light, first and foremost. Being responsible economic stewards is our top responsibility and priority. We believe there's a scenario in which the reservoir will be maintained and the Morrisville Water and Light ratepayers will not be on the hook for its preservation. Penny is going to now talk in more detail about that scenario in her presentation. So I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you. So as many of you are aware, Morrisville Water and Light has been wrestling with the issue of relicensing the Green River hydro development for over a decade now. We want to take this opportunity to update all of you on where things stand and to give you the opportunity to weigh in and hopefully help us with an outcome that will ensure the reservoirs can remain intact. We understand the hydro facility and the reservoir is critically important, not only to this community, but the folks across the state and quite frankly, all of New England. So this evening, we'll all be going through a presentation. It should take hopefully about 15 minutes. During this time, we ask that all of you stay muted on your computers because at the end of the presentation, we, excuse me, we'll call on you and ask that you use the raise your hand function in Zoom. And I have pictures of how to get there in case you're not familiar with that. So we'll call on people one at a time. And as we do that, we will unmute you. We will have about 45 minutes or so. We want to be respectful of everyone's time and would ask that you ask one question or make one comment from anyone that wants to ask. And I would ask that you would limit that to about a minute. If we have more time, we will go back around, and if individuals have another question or comment, we will take them. So we're going to begin with a brief overview with Morrisville Water and Light. So for those of you that are not familiar with the utility, you can have some basic facts. We will then move to some basic facts about our hydro facilities. We have some pictures of the dam for those of you that have not seen the dam. We'll give you a little bit of background and history on how Morrisville Water and Light has been good environmental stewards. We'll also provide a little bit of background on the relicensing process itself, which I mentioned has been going on for over a decade. We've got Sean Enterline from VEPSA, who will provide a discussion on the water quality certificate conditions imposed by the state and its impact on the Green River hydro facility economically. And finally, we will discuss what's next and how you can help. So a brief overview about Morrisville Water and Light. Morrisville Water and Light is a municipal utility that offers electric, water, and sewer services. As a municipal, we are a not-for-profit utility. Morrisville Water and Light provides clean, reliable electric service to approximately 4,000 customers in parts of 7 different communities. Our mission is to provide clean, reliable, and affordable service to our customers. We are committed to providing our customers with clean power. We currently own and operate 3 hydroelectric generators, which has generated an average of approximately 7 million kilowatt hours a year. Morrisville Water and Light has also invested in solar generation. We are buying all the output from the Lawrence Brook 2.2 megawatt solar project down on Route 100. We participate in the state-run standard offer program and currently have a number of solar projects that are in that program within our territory. In addition, we have well over 100 net metering solar projects in our territory. In total, Morrisville Water and Light is 59% renewable. The state has set a requirement that we are 75% renewable by 2032, and we are well on our way to reaching that goal. As I mentioned, we are deeply committed to keeping our electric rates as low as possible for our ratepayers. As I mentioned, Morrisville Water and Light owns and operates 3 hydroelectric plants with the Cadiz Falls, Morrisville, and Green River plants. The chart on the right shows the average generation over the last 5 years, showing the 7 million kWh. In addition, Morrisville owns the dam in Elmore, and while we don't generate power there, we do reduce the lake water level at the end of the summer, allowing property owners to bring their docks in. This map shows the location of our hydro developments that are listed in our FERC license. You'll see at the top, the Green River Reservoir Dam is there. Cadiz Falls and Morrisville are down at the bottom. And this next slide is just a simplified diagram that shows the water flow relationship of the 3 hydro facilities. Water is released through the turbines at the Green River plant, flow down to the Green River and into the Lamoille River. The water in the Lamoille River is then used to generate power at the Morrisville and Cadiz Falls hydro plants. The Green River Dam was originally built as a store and release facility to allow some certainty for generating hydropower at all the hydro plants along the Lamoille River, including several power plants that are owned by Green Mountain Power. The hydro generators were added to the Green River Dam to allow power to be generated during evening peak load periods to avoid having to use oil generation. The new water quality certificate conditions make it impossible to use the Green River Hydro for its intended purpose. You have to do them one at a time. You should be able to do it.
Yeah, well, I was it for a while there. I was able to.
Sorry, folks, we're just admitting more people that are in the waiting room.
Yeah.
It's because of that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to go through a few slides. It just shows pictures of the dam. This picture is a top view of the Arch Dam. Down at the bottom there is one of the gatehouses. This picture is a view of the spillway. This is the downstream face of the dam. And finally, another face of the dam picture, and this one is taken from the power plant. Morrisville Water and Light recognizes the value of the Green River Reservoir and the unique wilderness-like experience it offers visitors. In fact, Morrisville Water and Light sold the state as part of the state park system the 5,000 plus acres around the Green River Reservoir for preservation at a reasonable amount of $490 per acre. In addition, Morrisville Water and Light sold the state its Zackwoods property for conservation. Recognizing the importance of the wildlife habitat, Morrisville Water and Light has limited fluctuations of the water levels in order to protect the nesting habitats of the loons. This next slide is a really busy slide, but I wanted to just show you because it kind of details the hydro relicensing actions that we've taken. And while I won't go through it in its entirety, there's just a little bit of basic background I want to tell you regarding FERC, which is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. They require licenses for many hydroelectric generating facilities, and Morrisville Water and Light is part of that group that gets to license their dams. The license that we have for the Morrisville Water and Light dams actually expired in 2015. We started the process in 2009 due to all of the studies and other work that's required to get the license filed. As part of the filing, as part of the relicensing, the state imposed water quality certificate conditions that Morrisville Water and Light did not agree with. And Morrisville Water and Light has been litigating issues surrounding those conditions since 2016. The bottom line is the water quality certificate conditions imposed by the state make it uneconomical for Morrisville Water and Light to operate the Green River Dam. So on November 1st, Morrisville Water and Light filed a notice with FERC that we will be working with a consultant to amend our current license application to withdraw the Green River facility from the license, and we will begin the decommissioning process. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Sean Enterline from Vermont Public Power Supply Authority. VEPSA is an independent entity from Morrisville Water and Light, and they have conducted a financial analysis of the revenue of operating the Green River facility under the state's water quality certificate. Now bear with us while we locate Sean and unmute him.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, Sean.
Penny, can you confirm that you can hear me?
I can hear you, Sean. Yes, thank you.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everybody. As Penny said, my name is Sean. I work for the Vermont Public Power Supply Authority as a senior analyst in the power supply role. We pretty much directly manage the power supply for Morrisville and 10 other Vermont municipal electric utilities, as well as a couple of cooperatives in New England and 2 New Hampshire-based munis. So we're here primarily to analyze the benefit side of the cost benefit analysis here. So starting with the top bullet here, this really starts with the engineering firm H.L. Turner. They analyzed the conditions of the new water quality certificate and provided 2 things. First was volume. How many kilowatt hours per year can the facility be expected to produce under the new water quality certificate? And second, what would it cost to meet the terms of that water quality certificate over a 30-year period? So that's really the cost side of the equation is coming from H.L. Turner in the form of volumes and costs. As I mentioned before, VEPSA is primarily looking at the benefits side of the equation. We're using the same volumes provided by H.L. Turner, and we're multiplying those volumes times 3 things primarily. You're all familiar with energy production per year, kilowatt hours per year. But importantly, we have used volumes of production at the peak annual hour and the peak hour each month of the year. Those are really important because ICE New England, that's our grid operator, runs markets for capacity. That's the ability to generate electricity at that peak hour of the year. And they operate the transmission grid, which whose costs are allocated based on your load at the time of the monthly peak hour. So the timing in which you can generate electricity is extremely important to this analysis. And I have prices for all 3 of those things. And our role as power planners, we routinely look out 20 and 30 years. So we have an outlook for energy, an outlook for the value of capacity, and an outlook for the value of transmission. And we're simply using a very simple equation: volume times price equals a cost or a benefit. So that's the basis of the structure and the economic analysis. Bullet number 2 is just a quick summary of H.L. Turner's assessment of how much more it would cost to comply with the new water quality certificate. And the answer is 1.8 million over and above what you might have considered status quo maintenance and operating costs. So that 1.8 million is brought into the 3rd bullet, and I've created 2 scenarios and 2 pictures for you tonight. One shows the cost benefit analysis without any additions to the plant's generating capability. We call that no microturbine. And the second scenario assumes a new microturbine is put in. Coincidentally, that costs about 1.8 million. So please don't confuse that with the 1.8 million I mentioned in bullet 2. It is a separate and additive number. And you can see the cost benefits there as well. Before we go to the next slide, I'll just say, having run this analysis with Penny to tune up the numbers today, this is a resource that really kind of breaks even under its current water quality certificate. So not a lot of financial value, positive or negative, over the 30-year outlook that we took. So any changes that H.L. Turner estimated on cost or volume really are what's driving this analysis. If you could go to the next slide, we'll show you scenario 1. Thank you. So this is just nominal dollars, nothing special here, no financial adjustments for inflation or anything. And the benefits, this is energy capacity and transmission, are expected to be about 1.9 million over 30 years. And that's a cumulative gray shaded area to show you the trajectory that's expected there. The red is much more substantive. This is the cost that H.L. Turner has estimated. That's 6.7 million over 30 years. You can see the difference is about 4.8 million, and that's without investing in a microturbine. So a financial loss by a pretty substantial margin under this scenario. The second scenario is not really much different. The microturbine does have benefits. It basically restores the energy production to the historical averages. And so we've assumed more energy benefits here. But unfortunately, the timing of that production is no longer under Morrisville's control. So we can't gain as much capacity or transmission value as we have in the past. So we do have more benefits, 2.6 million, but the costs go up due to the cost of the microturbine itself. And the net loss is actually a bit more under this scenario, 6.5 million.
Thank you, Sean. You can go to the next slide. So the what's next? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Morrisville Water and Light started the process by filing a notice with FERC to communicate to them that we are hiring a consultant to amend the current license application and begin the process to decommission the dam. At this point, we're not sure what decommissioning looks like. It could be partial removal of the spillway so that the dam is at a safe year-round lower reservoir level. It could mean opening the gate on the dam and allowing the water to return to its natural condition. Or it could even mean removing the dam altogether. The other thing, at this point, we're not sure exactly what it costs to decommission the dam, but it could be as much as $1 million or more. We're not sure. That'll be part of the studies that we will have with the consultant. While we cannot ask Morrisville Water and Light customers to pay for a projected $4.8 million loss to operate the hydro facility, the dam ownership, preservation of the reservoir, and the state park is an appropriate role for the state of Vermont. There is precedent for the state ownership of a hydro dam. Washington Co-op uses the dam owned and maintained by the state of Vermont. We would like to sell the dam to the state of Vermont. We believe strongly that this is the best solution for preserving the reservoir and the state park for people and wildlife to enjoy for years to come. Federal dollars potentially provide a unique opportunity for this to occur. We need your help to make state ownership a reality. Please contact your legislators, the governor, and the Secretary of Agency of Natural Resources and ask them to have the state purchase the dam so this incredible resource can be used by all Vermonters for generations to come. In summary, Morrisville Water and Light recognizes the great value that the Green River Reservoir has to the community, the state, and the wildlife that make it home. But we cannot ask our ratepayers to foot the bill for this reservoir and the state park. It is our hope that by beginning the decommissioning process, we can have the state purchase the dam. We believe that the influx of federal dollars into Vermont provide the state with a unique opportunity to do this. We need your help to make this a reality and ask all of you if you want to see the state take over the facility and keep the reservoir intact, to please contact the state and ask them to purchase the dam and ensure that both wildlife and people can enjoy the reservation, the reservoir for generations to come. Thank you. At this point, we are going to take questions and comments. And as I alluded to earlier, there is a picture here that shows how you can raise your hand. We do ask that you stay muted and we will unmute you when we call on you. Okay, I guess we're ready. So Christine, you've raised your hand. We'll go ahead and ask you to unmute. Oh, hold on a second.
Okay,
Can
you hear me now?
We can now, thank you.
Well, I should tell you, my family, we've lived on the reservoir since 1985. And I'm also the former CEO of Vermont Electric Cooperative. So in that role, I've done an extensive analysis of, I understand ISO New England costs, power costs. And I ran these numbers in 2017. I can confirm that these numbers are real. I've pretty much resorted to the fact that these numbers are real. And just to keep it simple for everybody on here, when the power costs cost the most is when summer and deep of winter. And that's when there are no flows here. Run of the river doesn't really work. I've evaluated run of the river microturbines, similar to what you've talked as well. So of course, we love our reservoir. My family loves the reservoir. We've started a petition to save the reservoir, and we'll provide that information. But I want to tell you, this is not the place to beat up Morrisville Water and Light. This is the place to get with your legislatures and talk about the value, the natural value to the state of Vermont. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Christine. Okay. Tom Kastner. Please unmute, Tom.
I had to get the right button. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. We can hear you now.
Have you done any engineering studies of your scenarios where you do any alterations to the dam?
Can you be more specific? I guess I'm not understanding when you talk about alterations.
Well, one of your scenarios was to lower the spillway. Seems like you would need an engineering study to do that, since the dam is composed of concrete and rebar and.
Great. So Tom, yes, that's going to be part of the whole decommissioning process and the studies that we will do as part of the step that we took as of November 1. Barry Singer. Here. Okay, there you go.
I've been up in Morrisville now for 22 years. The reservoir is one of the loveliest assets the state of Vermont has. And Morrisville has been doing a marvelous job of maintaining it, or at least keeping the water in it so it can be enjoyed. And from what I understand, they've been doing it for the last 20 years at basically a break-even cost to them. Maybe, I don't know how much, unimportant. To have the situation where they are reduced by more than 80% of their flow to produce less than 80% of the revenues, it's inconceivable that they could possibly afford to continue to maintain the dam. The state has to come in, since the state wants to reduce the flow for its water quality, to have the state purchase the dam to maintain the reservoir for the next 70 years to be enjoyed. What can I do to help?
you can ask your legislators and the governor, and we have the email addresses on this screen. Please reach out to them, ask them to buy the dam.
I'll do that.
Thank you, Barry. Susan Bartlett.
Hey there, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question so it makes sense. Are you asking, do you want us to ask the state to buy a hydro facility, or do they buy the dam? And my question is, if it's a hydro, yeah, and sort of what are you asking for it, and what do you base a selling price on it? It seems as a hydro facility, you've concluded, and all you guys in the work, and I appreciate that it's not, you can't even get it to break even. So it doesn't seem to work as a hydro facility. So if it's just, if it's just a dam, is that what you're asking the state to buy and to forego the hydro capacity? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question, Susan. I'm not sure we vetted it out completely, but at the end of the day, we know that we cannot run the hydro facility under the water quality certificate conditions. So if they just purchased even the dam and took over all that liability based on the levels that were imposed by the state, that may be an idea, but ideally we'd be looking at them to buy the entire package. And again, as far as you indicating the dam versus the hydro, that's something we could certainly think about, but the ask is for them to buy the dam and the hydro.
Yeah, it seems to me if,
Thank you.
Again, that might be an interesting negotiating point.
Thank you. Eliza Clancy.
Hi, this is Paul Clancy.
Okay.
I would just like to say that, we've heard numbers thrown out this evening and they're fine. I think what we need to do is just get past the numbers and concentrate on saving the reservoir. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek Hallquist.
Yes, thank you for your time. I agree with Paul on this as well. I think it's very obvious that you've spent nearly a decade. I can't even imagine on how much work went into that, trying to get it relicensed. I started a petition a couple weeks ago that's been circulating for the state to buy the reservoir. It's currently over 2,600 signatures, but we haven't really pushed that hard. And I think if everyone who's energized by this meeting, who's energized by really, for me, it's very emotional. I grew up on this lake, and it's pretty much everything I do in life is because of that environment. My love for photography, my love for nature, and I know there's thousands of people out there who have been positively affected by this reservoir in its natural state. It's an interesting place, an unnatural creation that created a wonderful natural habitat. And I think we have to just focus on this one thing, which is getting the state to buy it. That's the only answer. So please sign the petition and please share it. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Next, Bob Nastor.
Yes, thank you. To follow up on the other question regarding sale of the facility to the state, would Morrisville be proposing to continue to operate the project as a hydro facility with state ownership and the state being responsible for those upgrades and maintenance? Or would you completely have no role in this whatsoever? And related to that, would the project continue to serve any storage function for your other downstream projects at Morrisville and Katy Falls?
So again, I think I would say we don't know exactly what that ownership looks like. And would we run the hydro? Possibly, but again, we don't know what that looks like. As far as the storage, I mean, again, it would be my understanding, Bob, that even under state ownership, the water quality certificate conditions that are imposed on Morrisville Water and Light would be imposed to themselves. So I would assume that those conditions would be the same.
So it would, are you saying, I'm understanding you to say that the project would have no role whatsoever in the hydro generation, that you would still continue to own and operate it at Morrisville and Katy Falls? It would be completely out of your control and up to the state of Vermont, and you would take what you'd get? Or is that something still under development?
The Morrisville and Katy Falls hydro developments would still be run by Morrisville Water and Light. So, thank you. Frances McCune she was trying to find the raise your hand. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna ask for her to speak if we can find her. She was just looking for the raise your hand function. So Frances, if you can unmute. No, not there. Okay, I guess while we're waiting for her, we've got a couple others now. Beth Foy.
Hi, thank you. The question I have is if this the state were to consider the purchase and they came back and said that there were federal funds or other funds that would cover the $4.8 million cost, is that something where Morrisville's position would change in terms of wanting to, move the property to the state?
I mean, at this point, there are safety concerns. So, no, Morrisville Water and Light is looking to sell the dam to the state.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go into the comments, please? The chat.
Sorry, Penny, this is Fran McCune again. Have you been hearing me or?
No, we have not. So, but we hear you now. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank you and all of Morrisville Water and Light for this presentation. I've been following it for a while, and I am completely and totally convinced that Morrisville Water and Light has done everything in their power to save this great resource that we have. And to me, it looks like a pretty clear path to resolve everyone's issues. A, for Morrisville Water and Light to succeed in their mission, and B, for all of Vermont to be able to keep enjoying this resource. So I plan to write to my legislators and to the governor's office and just say, this is something that should be done because it seems like a win-win for everybody.
Thank you very much. Chris Jacobs.
Yeah, where is there some public place that we can find this petition to sign?
Derek, I think that's Derek Hallquist.
Yes, the link is in the chat. Yeah, the link is in the chat. There's a link you can click on in the chat view.
Okay, thank you.
Morrisville Water and Light will put it on the website as well, and Facebook. I'm not sure about timing, just due to the holiday and schedule, but we will get it out there on our website. Thank you. Terry Aldrich.
Hi. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay. I'm just a concerned citizen who's fallen in love with the lake. I mean, my family and I for years now have gone up there and we've absolutely loved it. And if there's anything that we can do as far as writing legislators, the governor's office, I'd be totally glad to do that. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your work on this. And I'm just very happy to help out.
Very good.
Thank you.
And I just want to add, so I know some of you have come on late. There's another one. And we are recording this as well as I think Green Mountain Access TV is recording it. So again, we'll try to get a recording of this onto our website for those of you that have missed it. Leah Hollenberg. Hollenberger, sorry.
Thanks, Penny. Has there been any conversation with the state about this request from Morrisville Water and Light? Do we have kind of a temperature taking of how the state feels about the idea of purchasing the dam?
Leah, there have been a few preliminary conversations with the state over the years, but our feeling is that the federal dollars that are flowing into the state provide a unique opportunity and potentially provide the state with a larger appetite for something like this. So I think those conversations, we are hopeful will really begin in earnest, over the next couple months.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Michael Maynard.
Yeah, thanks for that really clear explanation. I think that was really understandable. I've got a lot of pretty good memories of paddling on the reservoir with my family, and I'd hate to see it disappear. One thing I want people to keep in mind here, and this may not be the appropriate result in this situation, is that removal of the dam wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world. You'd end up with a free-flowing river. You'd end up with really one of the only major tributaries to the Lamoille River, free flowing in an undeveloped valley. So I just, want to emphasize that a free flowing river here would not be the end of the world, and that would probably be the best long-term solution from an environmental perspective. And I think we all just need to make sure we understand that we could be back here in 30 years having the same discussion about the long-term existence of this dam. I just want to make sure folks understand that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Michael Wickenden.
Hi, yep. I was just wondering if the revenue projections, the 30-year revenue projections you showed on the board, if that analysis could be shared. I'd be interested in looking at the price per kilowatt you used for those different years going out. And also the decommissioning costs. It sounds like you haven't done any investigation to quantify those costs. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that sort of joins in with this dam safety study. Are you still planning on completing the dam safety study in May of 2022?
Yeah, I'm not sure, given the fact that we put in to FERC that we're going to be working with a consultant. I imagine it's going to get done at some point in time. I can't say when that'll get done, Michael. Thank you.
And Michael, in terms of making the analysis available, absolutely. We'll make that's
Great, Sean. Yeah, I've worked with Sean before and be interested to talk to him about that. Thank you.
So before we move, I've got a repeat question to be asked. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Bear with us, Paul. Okay, go ahead, Paul. Doesn't look like anyone else has questions or comments.
This is Elisa Clancy this time.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I got it wrong the last time.
Yeah, so was it news tonight? Was this the first time it was announced that you are planning to decommission the dam, or was that public knowledge already? I just didn't know.
The filing was made with FERC on November 1st. I would say that this is the first official announcement of that filing.
Okay, so the headline in the paper is going to be Morrisville Water and Light plans to decommission. Is that the takeaway here?
I think the takeaway here is we don't want to decommission the dam. We want the reservoir to stay intact. The takeaway that we're offering or asking all of you is to please reach out to the legislators, the governor, the Secretary of the Agency of Natural Resources to please buy the dam from us. We cannot run the Green River Hydro Facility economically, and we cannot ask all of our 4,000 electric ratepayers to pay for a $4.8 million loss. So that's our takeaway, is for you to please reach out to get some help for
All
us.
right.
Thank you.
We will save the reservoir.
Thank you. Mary Claire?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for all, first of all the information presented thus far. I just want to follow up on the previous question about environmental impact. And I'm curious because I imagine if the state were to make this purchase, they would need to do a full environmental impact analysis of removal versus preservation of the dam. And I'm just curious what's been done thus far and whether that's accessible, like if any of that research is accessible to the public.
Okay, so a couple things. I was not involved with the relicensing process up until 2020. I do know that studies and I'm sure environmental studies were done. Yes, they would be open to the public. As far as studies as it relates to decommissioning the dam, no, as we said, we just started that process. But the environmental studies, I know they're available. We will try to locate them and get them if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judy Bickford.
Thanks, Penny. I was curious, if the state does take over the dam, there is no guarantee that the dam would be kept, the reservoir would be kept, is there?
I mean, I guess no, but I would think that if the point here that we're trying to make is that the reservoir itself is a gem for all. It's for our community, for the state, for New England, and probably outside of New England. So I couldn't imagine that they would want to buy it and take it down.
Okay.
Yeah, and certainly, yeah, I would just add to that you're right, Judy, there's no guarantee. Obviously, we can't speak for the state, but if they were going to buy it, I would think it would be because they recognize the value of the reservoir and they want to preserve it.
I'm going to move to Jude Prashaw. Sorry if I butchered that last name.
Pretty good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question, whether it's decommissioned or not decommissioned, but more, I guess, bad case scenario. If it is decommissioned, how will that affect the Morrisville and Cadiz Falls hydro, and specifically Lake Lamoille? Will it affect it at all?
I don't believe it'll affect, I mean, well, let's just say the conditions that are being imposed right now is basically run of the river. That's what the water quality certificate conditions is probably putting it back to, is like a run of river, like any water that comes in, they want it to come out. So if it was removed, I think any of the watershed that's there would make its way down the Lake Lamoille the same way. But again, I'm sure we'd have to have studies to see that for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure.
The timing would be different. You couldn't capture the peak.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the timing of the water is different, and that's even with trying to run it under the water quality conditions, because we can't run it the way we do today, we lose a lot of the peak, even at the lower dams. Thank you. Barry, back to you.
There we go. The gentleman suggested for us a picture of what the valley would look like if the dam was removed and the valley went back to its original state. That would be a catastrophe for the northern Vermont, for the whole state of Vermont. Everything that's been accomplished over the last 20 years with this beautiful park would be lost. And surely there's no reason for the state to buy the dam if their intention was then to turn the valley back into a creek. So,
We actually have a picture of the Green River Reservoir site from 1946, and I believe this was before the dam was built. And I don't know if you can get that on there. I don't know how well it'll show. You know, if you can see that at all, folks, but
how do we make that bigger? I'd love to.
pretty
see
bare.
that. All right.
Okay, thank
That's
you,
my
Barry.
point.
Thank you. Christine?
Yeah, Barry actually triggered another story for me. Back in 2011, when Hurricane Irene hit, a week before the hurricane, we were on, emergency calls with the federal government, and they instructed all of the dam owners to drain their reservoirs and drain their dams as much as possible to avoid greater catastrophe. So I will remind folks that, one of the things that this does for us is it does provide insurance from flooding downstream during major storms. And I heard this morning that Vermont's seen about a 37% increase in precipitation over the last 20 years. And with global warming, we're expected to see more. So I think we will want to keep that in mind as well.
Thank you. So we have a little bit longer. If anybody else is interested in asking a question or providing a comment, as I mentioned, we will have this recording and the presentation up on our website, but like I said, I'm just not sure about timing. It might not be until early next week. Oh, it looks like Jim Pease has raised his hand. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Penny. I just was wondering if you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Yes, the state of Vermont is going to be extremely wealthy in the next 5 to 10 years, but this just came about with COVID. And it seems like, did Water and Light have any thought about what they were going to do before we had this big run on the federal dollar? And it seems like normally the state of Vermont is very economical about what it's doing. And that may not stop them from purchasing the dam, because obviously it would be a good investment. But I'm just wondering if Water and Light has looked at any other options, such as the state owning the dam, being responsible for the dam, but Water and Light still managing, making electricity through the dam, using the water quality certification condition requirements. It's sort of Susan's question again, was there any hybrid to this decision other than just to sell the dam out?
Jim, I can try and take that one. So I think you have a couple questions in there in terms of, before COVID and before the federal dollars, was there, what was the thought of Morrisville Water and Light? Again, we've talked to the state for a few years now, brought the concept of them purchasing the dam and or the hydro facility. I would say that their response has been lukewarm, very lukewarm. And one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to everyone tonight and encourage folks to reach out to them and show the state how important this asset is to everyone, to see if we could get a little bit more motivation on the state's part. In terms of what it looks like, whether it's the state owns it and operates it, whether it's the state owns it and leases it back to Morrisville Water and Light. I don't totally want to speak for Morrisville Water and Light and the trustees, but I would think that that Morrisville Water and Light is open. We really just want to begin the discussion with the state of a purchase. And then in terms of exactly what that looks like, whether it's just the dam or the dam and the facility and there's a lease back, I think Morrisville Water and Light is open to all of those various scenarios.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Peter Daigle?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, it's probably hard to come up with these numbers, but what is the estimated revenue of tourism that the reservoir brings to the area? Does anybody have any numbers on that?
We don't. The only number I'm aware of is I think that the state park gets about $80,000 a year from actual like state park fees. But what the greater economic impact is, you know, for all those tourists coming and being in the area, I do not know.
Buying food, different.
Thank you. It dawned on me that folks that might be calling in might not have an option to raise your hand. So Carl, if you can hit the arrow button over. I just want to make sure that there's a few folks on the phone.
Let's see, I'm listed.
Oops, yep, no, I just saw some. Go back over there though. So we've got, I guess if folks that are on the phone want to talk, can you unmute? Yeah. We've got a 636-7266, a 793-2077, 279-6188, or any of you folks on the phone want to ask a question? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, is there anybody else with a hand raised? I think we are good. So one last call for questions or comments. I thank everyone for coming tonight and asking these thoughtful questions. And again, look for the slide presentation and the recording to be on our website. We'll also put the petition. And again, ask that you please reach out to the legislators and the governor and the Secretary of Agency of Natural Resources. Looks like we have time for one last question, and we have one last hand raised. Lisa Bernier.
Hi, there was one question in the comments about the Green River Reservoir and its effects on the surrounding bodies of water like Zach Woods, et cetera. Do you have any information on that?
Sorry, I don't, I'm not sure what the impact would be on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Get that information at some point. Avram?
Boy Scout camp, actually.
Avram?
Avram, I think you need to unmute.
Avram, did you have a question or a comment? No, okay. But there's nobody else at this point, so, yeah. Okay. Well, again, thank you all. And I encourage you to help us out and ask the state to buy this dam for us. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.